Hey everybody, Randy Reviews It here. So today we're gonna do a video. I hope it doesn't take too long. I won't know until I finish it, obviously. But this is a video gonna be about suppressor choice. So I've made some mistakes during my decisions on what suppressors to choose for the applications that I'm using them for, and also like their host firearms. So I wanted to take my mistakes and hopefully save you guys some money and maybe some time waiting on cans and disappointment with your cans on things. So just to give you some background, I started my suppressor journey about 2 years ago, if you will. I actually technically almost 3 years ago. So I put in a Huxworks 5.56 Helix can, was the first can I purchased. And after 300 days, it was approved. Unfortunately, I moved to Tennessee the week before it was approved. So I had to refile it using the e-file system, and I waited like another 272 days after it was all canceled and everything. Overall, it took like 700 days to technically get my first can. So don't move in the middle unless you're ready to refile. That's the first thing. The second thing, so after that, I moved to Tennessee and I got ordered a OSS 762 Ti. So I was like, all right, I want to get in a 300 blackout, that sort of thing. I liked my OSS can so far on my Midwest Industries 18-inch AR. So it sounded really good. So I was like, all right, I'm going to order another OSS can, which is now Huxworks, by the way. So I got that can, and then my original can that I ordered too, I also ordered a Resonator K with that. So I was like, okay, I'll get this can, and it was taking a bit, and then I started seeing some bad things about Yankee Hill Machine, about like how they weren't honoring their warranties or they changed their warranty policy, and I go, isn't that convenient, like while I'm waiting for mine, that things are changing over there. So I have 3 cans in total. The Yankee Hill Machine Resonator K. At the time it was OSX, the Helix 5.56. And then I have the OSS 762 Ti can. So what are the lessons learned? So few things. Lesson 1, QD isn't the end all be all. So when I first got into suppressors, I was like, okay, I gotta get a good QD one because I'm gonna be switching suppressors between all my guns. That really isn't the case a lot of times, like through my experience. And the QD mounts, I mean, if you guys have been following NFA on Reddit or anything like that, some dead air cans have been failing. Some chemo mounts haven't been great. And you'll see on there too, like some of these mounts are getting carbon locked, where it's adding extra length to things. And if you're trying to, you're buying a 12.5 or an 11.5, you're trying to not add as much length that doesn't actually add to performance. So when you throw a big QD mount on there, you're adding, 3/4 of an inch, potentially even an inch to the gun that isn't improving the suppressor, like it's just the mount. It's not improving the velocity on anything. So yeah, so the QD mounts, don't get hung up on like dedicating yourself to a specific QD mount, to a suppressor family or anything like that, because everyone's making new cans. Performance is changing across the board. Some cans that were performing great are kind of falling to the sidelines with the new stuff that's coming out. So don't kind of get like stuck in saying, I'm only going to get this one QD mount, all my cans have to be QD, and I'm only going to buy this brand. Get out of that mindset right away. Yeah. Which takes us to lesson number 2. Stop trying to use one can for everything. So I bought this OSS can because I was like, oh, it's flow through. I shouldn't have gas issues. I should be able to use this on my AK-74, everything like that. So I could use it on my AK-74, and I didn't get a lot of gas to the face like I've seen on other AKs that you suppress. So if you have a gun that has that's really highly gassed and you don't have a way to adjust it, the OSS or a flow-through can is probably your best option. So going with that. But if you have a 300 blackout and you're shooting subs, the OSS cans aren't very quiet compared to some of the others, because what they were designed to do is be for those high gas, high pressure guns, and they're venting that out the front. So it means that they're venting things easier. So if there's not a lot of gas coming out or a lot of pressure, it's still going to vent things easier. But maybe if you had a regular can, your entire system would be quieter with 300 blackout subsonics, because it just contains all the gas, or you don't have to worry about that sort of thing. So I get it. The Huxworks cans are great, but depending on your application, you might not want them for everything, especially, you know, if you're indoors and you have a 300 blackout sub. That's one example that I would say I wouldn't buy a Huxworks can if that's where you're going with things. If you wanted to shoot a 10-inch 5.56 gun indoors, then maybe, yeah, I would get a Flow or something like that, because at least it's not that chamber pop that you're hearing. It's forward. Granted, it may reverb off the walls or wherever you're at. Hopefully you're not in like a tin shed or anything like that. So, yeah, stop trying to use one can for everything, especially too, like if you have like a 45-70 and you're like, this can's going to do everything. Well, it's going to do everything, but it's going to do all those other things besides its specific purpose less effectively. So like if you start running 5.56 through it, yeah, it'll suppress it a little bit, but not a great amount. It's not ideal. There's very few cans that suppress smaller calibers better than the cans that were dedicated for those smaller calibers. So if you're looking at 5.56, buy a 5.56 can usually. There's a few examples of 7.62 cans that actually do better, but it's pretty rare. So stop trying to use one can for everything. Buy your suppressor for your specific purpose. Lastly, and probably what I think the most important lesson is in all of this is your host gun. Your host gun is going to be what determines which can you get. So for example, I got a 300 blackout home defense gun. It's short. It's 10.25 inches. So why did I get a Resonator K can? I have no idea why I got a K can. Like, I get it. It's short overall, but because the gun was already short, I had more room to play with, and I probably should have got the full Resonator R2, or I should have got some other full-size 30 caliber can. And it's 300 blackout, so my OSS 7.62 can didn't really make any much sense because I'm only shooting subs through it. So it's actually quieter with the K can than it is with the OSS full-size 7.62 Ti can. But I wish I would have got a longer traditional can for that gun. It would have sounded much better. I'm probably going to get a can like that down the road. So the other thing is, you don't necessarily need to buy flow-through cans if you have guns that are, gassed properly, or you can adjust. So for example, I have the Blackout Defense, I have Type A guns. Why did I buy OSS cans? These guns, you could tune them specifically for your suppressors and those gases. So now I have a gun that sounds a little bit louder potentially, because I thought I was going to get a gun that was overgassed and the Huxworks would solve it. So what I should have done is just got, something like an Otter Creek Labs or a Q can, or, Arrow's got the new Lahar that came out. I'm probably looking at that with things. DSX, Maxim Defense DSX is really good ranking, that sort of thing. So if your host gun is very adjustable gas-wise, you shouldn't be buying a flow can for that gun. That's what I would say right off the bat. If your gas block isn't adjustable and you're already using like a heavy buffer and that sort of thing, and maybe you have gas leakage or it's just over-gassed in general, then maybe you should be buying the Huxworks Flow or like a CGS can with the flow through, or one of those high flow cans, just to say that. So the other thing, with Host Gun Matters is on an 18-inch AR, you're not going to need the 9-inch suppressor. You're going to get significant performance gains because of how long that is and how that pressure is working with that system. The longer the gun, the shorter the can you need. Yes, you could throw a giant can on there and have probably a great sounding gun, but then you got this unwieldy, like rake length gun that isn't really that fun to shoot. So as your gun gets shorter, your can should get longer. As your gun gets longer, your cans can get shorter. That's something, so your host gun, being aware of, one, how gassy it is, are there adjustments for it, how you can adjust it, two, length of it, and then three, what type of ammo are you going to be shooting through it? If you're buying a 300 Blackout and you plan on still shooting supers through it a majority of the time, then you want a can that can accommodate that, because otherwise it's going to get too overgassed and it's going to cause issues. A lot of these 300 Blackout guns that manufacturers make, they design them to barely run with subs with a can. So when you run supers with a can through them, there's so much pressure coming through. You can see, like on mine especially too, when I ran that really hot AAC ammo, there was a bunch of powder hammering the magazine. I was getting a bunch of issues with it. It was hot ammo in general. Primers were popping, all kinds of stuff. So you want to make sure that you get a can for the type of ammunition that you're going to shoot on a regular basis as well. So overall, that's kind of my summary, is know what you want to do with your gun, what your purpose is. Buy your suppressor after you've gotten your gun and you understand what your purpose is. And, make sure you get the suppressor that fits it. Don't be afraid of direct threading cans. QD mounts are great, but they're not the end-all be-all. And stop trying to use one can for everything. It's like trying to use one AR-15 for everything. Sure, it can probably do most things well, but it's not going to do all things well. And we should stop trying to make one AR-15 be the end-all be-all, jack-of-all-trades type thing. There's trade-offs, and you got to understand those trade-offs. So I hope this video helps you decide on a can. Visit Pew Science for some of those can rankings to see how things interact. What's important to you is the muzzle quietness, the ear quietness, or kind of that chamber pop. And overall, if you have an adjustable gun, you want to focus on cans that are quieter at the muzzle, because you can adjust the gas so that you don't get the at-ear pop the same way. So that's an important thing to consider as well. So thanks for watching, everyone. Shred me apart in the comments if you want. If you leave a decent constructive comment, I'll probably respond to you. If you're just taking a dump on me, I probably won't respond, but I will have a little chuckle. So if you like the video, subscribe. Let me know your experience with cans. One of the things that kind of had me make this video is I've been knocking on dead air for so long, and then I heard one the other day, and it sounded really good, actually. It was gassy, but it sounded really, really good. And it makes me think that if I would have got a dead air can with my adjustable guns, I'd probably have a better sounding gun overall. But, I was stuck in my ways, and now that I've realized my mistake, it's going to cost me a little bit more money to correct it. So, yeah, take care, everyone. Thanks.